Hello, all. Welcome to the lecture series on technological innovation management and entrepreneurship, Module 2, Session 6. Today, we are going to learn about motivation, nature of motivation, motivational theories. Now, what is communication? Why communication is important and what is the purpose of communication. Together with that, we will also do some multiple choice questionnaires. So, in directing and controlling, motivation becomes an important factor for the employees to work. Now, what is a motivation? Motivation can be anything when you have a goal you want to achieve, when you want to achieve something, that becomes a motivation to achieve that, whatever we have set for ourselves. So that is the zeal or the enthusiasm that we carry to achieve the goal, that is called as motivation. Now let's see the definition, what they tell what motivation is. Motivation is inspiring the subordinates to contribute with zeal and enthusiasm towards organization goals. When an employee is working in an organization, now what makes him to work to his maximum efficiency? That becomes a motivation, right? So, a performance of an employee always depends on the ability to work, whether he's capable of working, and the willingness. He should have the willingness to work. When he has the willingness, when he has the enthusiasm to work, the performance will be greater than a person who has lesser willingness to work, right? So mathematically they tell that performance is equal to ability into willingness, whether he is able to work. Together with that, if he has that enthusiasm to work towards that, then the performance will be higher when compared to a person who has the capacity to work, but still he doesn't have the willingness to perform to his maximum capacity. Now, motivation is an enhancing the willingness, right? When performance is ability into willingness. When he has the ability and when willingness is low, then the performance gets low. When he has the ability to work and when his willingness is higher, right, then his performance becomes greater or better. So that willingness is also known as motivation. So this motivation enhances the willingness to work, with which improves the performance of an organization. Now, motivational theories. There are a number of theories that is being given, but according to our syllabus, we are going to study in detail on Maslow need hierarchy theory and Hertzberg two factors theory. There are many other theories like McLean's achievement theory, Victor Vroom's expectancy theory, Adams' equity theory, Skinner's behavior modification theory, and carrot and stick approach. But in our syllabus, we are going to learn about Maslow need hierarchy theory and Hertzberg two-factor theory. Now let's see what is Maslow need hierarchy theory. In Maslow need hierarchy theory, every person has a variety of needs. When there is a need to achieve, right? When there is a need to uh, conquer something, then we work harder to achieve that. If we are very happy with what we have, then there is no zeal or enthusiasm to achieve something, then definitely there is no motivation to achieve because you're already happy with what you have. You have no interest on getting somewhere else. So then there is no motivation to work. So he tells that every person has a need. Now you catch that need, and that becomes a motivation factor. That becomes a motivation for the person to work. So he tells that every person has a need. It can be various needs. Each person needs will be different. So he tells that there is a variety of needs, and some of these needs are satisfied and some are unsatisfied. And this unsatisfied need becomes the motivation. An unsatisfied need is the starting point in the motivation process. That is the starting point for the motivation process. When a person has an unsatisfied need, when he has an unsatisfied need, he attempts to identify something that will satisfy the need. So he will work on, or he will try to identify something which will satisfy the need which is unsatisfied, and that unsatisfied need becomes the goal, and you call that as a goal. Once the goal has been identified, he takes the action to reach the goal, and therefore he will satisfy that need which he is craving for, right? So here in Maslow need hierarchy theory, every human being has a need, and some needs are satisfied and some needs are unsatisfied. This unsatisfied need becomes the motivation for the employee to work. He works towards that and satisfy that need. Once that need is satisfied, he will crave for the next need. And again, when that need has been satisfied, he will crave for the next need. So here Maslow has identified these needs and he has arranged that in a what hierarchical level. What is the first need he will work for? Once that need is been satisfied, he will move to the second need. Once the second need is satisfied, he will shift to the third need. So all these needs he has captured and he has set in a hierarchical way, and he calls that as a Maslow need hierarchical theory. Now let's see what are the needs and how he has classified into or organized in a hierarchical form. Maslow suggested that the following needs for human motivation, which could be organized hierarchically as. Now, what are the needs that he has hierarchically organized is psychological needs, safety needs, social needs, esteem needs, and self-actualization. These are the needs which he has placed in a hierarchy where each person works for this. Now, first need is psychological need. Now, what is the psychological need? Psychological need is, so this is the diagram that depicts the hierarchy that Maslow has been given. Psychological needs. Once the psychological need has been satisfied, he will crave for security needs. Once this security need has been satisfied, he will crave for social needs. Social needs, he will crave for esteem needs. Then he will crave for the self actualization. Now, what are these needs? Um, uh, let's see into that. Now, first is the psychological needs. Now, what is the psychological needs? This being the lowest order includes, this is the lowest in the order, which includes need for food, water, clothing, and shelter for a person who lacks everything. This could be the major motivation, and this could be the first need to be satisfied. Now, what is a psychological need? A psychological need is the basic need. Everybody begins their career with this need itself. That this is the first need that we will look into when we want to work. Right? What is that? That is the psychological need, where I my food, water, clothing, shelter, all the basic facilities should be satisfied. Once these basic things once satisfied, he will look for the second need. So this basic which we work for, we call it as bread, butter, jam, or food, water, clothing, and shelter. These basic um for the basic um, mm, basic things of any human being, those needs, he characterized that into a psychological need. And once this need is been satisfied, now when you have a house to live in, you have a good salary, you can afford good food, good clothing, and you also have a when you also have a good house, the satisfy these needs are been satisfied. Once these needs are been satisfied, the motivation factor comes down. So he will look for the second motivation factor, that is called as safety needs. What is safety needs? That is the next level of the need, or the next stage for the motivation. Now, what is the second stage of motivation? Is the safety needs, where which comes after the psychological needs. And these needs are like protection against danger, loss of existing psychological needs. If my job goes, how am I going to live? What about my food, clothing, and shelter? If something goes wrong, what is the security that I have? This becomes the second stage for the motivation factor, where you look for safety needs. Once the psychological needs are done, we will look for safety needs. For example, if I fall sick, do I have a medical insurance? All these things, if something goes wrong, how is my family going to settle down? How is my family be benefited if something goes wrong? All this safety and security needs becomes the second stage of the motivation factor. Third one is, once this is also satisfied, he will look for social needs. Social need means, because we are all human beings and we are social animal, where we all need friends and a sense of belongingness for us to work. We need a very good environment. It is not just I and I'm working for an organization where I'm not uh, connected to anybody, because we live in a society, and we want that kind of affection and belongingness from the organization also, um, so that we feel nice about working in that organization, where we feel that yes, this is my organization and I'm going to give my 100% to my organization. This sense of social needs become the third need, or third motivation factor for an employee to work in an organization. Once this social need is also being satisfied, next, he will work for his esteem needs. Esteem means he works for a good position. He looks for some achievement. He looks for his self-esteem, and he looks for freedom. So this is the fourth level of the need, which works as a motivation factor for an employee to work in an organization. The last one is the self actualization, where self actualization, it is being the highest level in the hierarchy, where he realizes his potential for continued self development and desire to become more of what he is capable of. He will realize his self worth. He will know the capacity of himself. Once he know that he can do much better than what he is doing, that self actualization becomes the highest hierarchy of motivation, where he is able to give his 100%, and he is capable. He will know that he has much higher qualities than, or much higher knowledge that than what he is doing right now. That is the highest hierarchy of need a human being will strive to achieve, right? Or to satisfy the need of self actualization. So this is the hierarchy of needs which work as a motivation factor for an employee to work in an organization. According to Maslow, people attempt to satisfy their physical or psychological need first. As long as these needs are unsatisfied, they dominate behavior. As they become reasonably satisfied, they lose their motivation. Right? Once that unsatisfied need works as a motivation, once the need is been satisfied, the motivation factor becomes zero. So he will shift to the next level. Once he goes to the next level, he has some unsatisfied needs over there. So he will work towards that unsatisfied needs, which acts as a motivators. So similarly, after second, after third, fourth, fifth, like this, the hierarchy of the needs keep moving one step ahead. Right? Okay. Next is Hertzberg two-factor theory. Now, what is Hertzberg two-factor theory? Frederick Hertzberg and his associates have proposed a two-factor theory of motivation. Now, in Maslow, he told that the needs and the unsatisfied needs becomes the motivation factor for an employee to work in an organization. Now, what does this Hertzberg tell is that he has given that there are two factors which work as motivators for an employee to work in an organization. He tells that in one group, needs such as company policy, administration, supervision, working condition, interpersonal relationship, salary, job, security, and personal life. These are called as dissatisfiers. He called these as dissatisfiers, and these are also called as non-motivators or not motivators. These are not motivators, but definitely if they exist in a working environment, they yield no dissatisfaction. If they does not exist in an organization, if there is that is available in the organization, there is no dissatisfaction. But if it is not there, the people are not dissatisfied. At the same time, people are not motivated also, right? When these first group of needs, whatever I told you, if they are present, people are not dissatisfied. But at the same time, these needs also doesn't work as a motivating factors. So he called these factors as hygiene factors or maintenance factors. These factors, the first group of factors, what I told, the policy, administration, supervision, working environment, this becomes the hygiene factors. The second group, he listed certain satisfiers. He called those second group of needs as satisfiers, and therefore they are called as motivators. And it is related to the job content, and it is related to the job content. They include achievement, recognition, challenging work, advancement, and growth in the job. So all these things are related to the job content itself, and they are called as motivating factors. So this becomes the motivators factors. They want to achieve something, or they work for some recognition, or some people also look for very challenging work. So, or they also look for growth in the job. So these factors, the second group, what I'm telling, these becomes the motivating factors for an employee to work in organization. So this is about Hertzberg's two factors theory. The first factor is the dissatisfiers. If they are present, there is no problem, but they don't work as motivators. If they are absent, definitely it creates a problem in the organization. But for him, the motivating factors are the second group, which are related to the job content, which gives the employee a motivating factor for to perform to his best. So this is about Hertzberg two factors theory. Next, let's see what is communication. We all know that communication is very important. Without communication, we will not be able to, pass any kind of information to anybody. when there is no proper communication, we fail in most of the things. You may be a very good rank student, but if you're not able to communicate exactly what's running in your head, then it becomes very difficult for you to move towards success, because you can't keep everything in your mind. You have to tell the information, and if the process of telling the information or communicating the information what you have, if that is not good, then you cannot become successful in any case, right? So that's why communication becomes very important in everybody's life. Now, what is communication? Communication simply means the process of passing information and understanding from one person to another, irrespective of any field, whether you're working in an organization, anything, even at home. When we want to convey something to our parents, if our communication is bad, definitely the answer will be no. Right? When you have a very good communication skill, you know how to get your work done. Now, when you talk about management and you're talking about how to get work done by people, and if you don't have a good communication skills, then how are you going to extract work from the employees? So that becomes communication becomes very crucial when you're working or when you're asking people to work for you, right? So this is communication, where it is just passing the information and understanding from one person to another, right? So now, what is importance of communication? Every organization structure is a social system involving the interactions of people working at different levels, and proper communication among them is necessary for achieving the goals of the organization. When the communication stops, organized action comes to an end, right? When we are working in an office or an organization, we have different levels and different kinds of people who are involved in the work. And when and if you are not able to communicate properly to the people working with you, then achieving the goal becomes difficult. If there is no communication, the actions are lost. Importance of communication, yes. Every aspect of manager's job, when you are a manager, and job of manager is to plan, organize, staff, direct, and control. Now, every stage of manager's job requires communication. Researchers have shown that 75% of the manager's time is spent in communication. He only works on communication. That's why they tell that manager do not deal with things. They don't deal with things, whether it is working, whether it is not working, whether what is the problem. They don't deal with the things, but they deal with the information on the things, or the information that is related to the work. He works on that. So his effectiveness, manager's effectiveness, majorly depend on his effective communication. Okay. Now, however, the decision at the top are, they okay, whatever the decision that is being taken at the top level, they don't serve no purpose unless the manager successfully communicate the implications of these decisions to his subordinates who are to implement them. Now, people who are sitting at the top management, right, when they take some decisions, and those decisions are given to the manager, and they are expected to get the work done by his subordinates or his employees. Now, if the manager is not able to communicate what the decisions taken by the top management to his subordinates, then the decision taken at the top level has no purpose, because it is not being given properly to the employees who At the top level, they just take the decision, but the implementation is done by the worker level, right? Now, if those decisions are not being told properly to the worker level or not being communicated properly to the workers level, then who is going to implement those? That becomes very difficult. Therefore, communication is very important for a manager to give the decisions or to give the information on the decisions that is taken by the management or at the top level uh, people. Communication is the essence of an organized activity. So, any organized activity has very good communication. It is the basis for direction and leadership. Yes, communication is the basics. Only on good communication you can become a leader, and you can also direct people. The managers have to communicate to give instructions. They will have to give instruction, they will have to give orders, they have to assign jobs, and they also have to fix responsibility. How do you do all these things? You need to have a very good communication skills to give instructions, to give orders, to get the work done by employees, to fix the responsibilities. All this require good communication. The better the communication, the more efficient the work performance, right? When you communicate very well, when you motivate the employees, when your skills talking skills are excellent, the work that is being done will also be excellent. Good communication not only obtains manager effectiveness but organization effectiveness also. When you have a manager or when you have a leader who drives and motivates his employees to give their best, organization also will do good. What is doubt in that, right? Now these are the few points which tells why communication is important. Next, let's see what is the purpose of communication. Communication is needed during recruitment process. Why? Because the recruiters, whoever is recruiting, are told about the company's organization structure, its policies, procedures, practices. Now, when you can't tell all these things, how the recruitment process will take go on, right? That's why communication is very important. It is needed during orientation to make people familiarize with peers, superiors, with company rules and regulations. When new employees join to your company, you need to do a orientation program. In those orientation programs, you need to familiarize the new employees with their peers, with their subordinates, with their superiors, with the company's rules and regulations. All these things require good communication. To enable employees to know their job relationships and important of overall performance, you have to tell what is their nature of the job that they are going to deal, and how important their job is related to the organization, to an overall organization process. To motivate the subordinates by evaluating his contribution to the organization goals. You have to motivate. When you have a very good communication skills, you can obviously motivate the employees, and you can also evaluate his contribution to the organization goal. To teach employees about personal safety on the job, to project the image of an enterprise in the society. When you have very good communication skill, you the way you present your company or the way you talk about your company in the society also makes an impression for the people to know. For good coordination among component parts, when you're working in an organization, it is not only you as an organization who is working. There are a number of people, there are a number of departments, a number of levels that you will be working, and there are a number of people also with whom you're coordinating and working. So to coordinate and work with different parts or different departments, for that also communication is very important. It also increases managerial efficiency. So this is the purpose of communication. Why communication is important? And what is the purpose of communication? What is communication? All these three, we just discuss about those three now. Now let's see some multiple choice questionnaires on what we learned today. Today we did about motivation, theories, and communication. Let's do some multiple choice questions. Which of the following is not an element of directing? It is not an element of directing. Supervision, B. Communication, C. Leadership, D. Inspection. Now, in these four, which is not an element of directing? It is answer D, that is inspection. Inspection is not an element of directing. Directing means you are telling the employees on how they are supposed to do the work. So it is supervision, because if there is any deviation, you will direct that no, you're going far from the goal, you have to get back on line. Communication definitely when you're directing people, your communication is very important. That also becomes an element of directing. Leadership, when you lead, definitely that is an element of directing. Inspection is not an element of directing, because you don't inspect while directing, you're just guiding those people, right? Mm. Second one, effective motivation in an organization does not contribute towards effective motivation in an organization. It will not contribute. Not contribute means it will not help. Okay. Developing performance levels of employee. Yes, effective motivation, it will help developing performance levels of employees. Help to reduce employee turnover. Yes, it will help when you motivate employees to your maximum capacity. They are pumped up and they are more enthusiastic to work. Then, when they are more happy to come and work, definitely it will reduce employee turnover. C, resistant to change in the organization. And D, all of the above. I think it is answer C, resistance to the change in the organization. When this is, yes, this does not contribute towards the effective motivation. These needs are most basic needs in the hierarchy of motivation theory and correspond to primary needs. Which one? A is self-actualization needs, basic psychological needs, security needs, and belonging needs. So the answer is B. It is basic psychological needs. This is the first need that we all look for. Mohit recently got a raise in his salary due to annual increment. Which of his human needs has been satisfied through this? Which need? I think it is security needs, belonging needs, self actualization need, or basic psychological need. It is D, basic psychological need, because it is just an increment that is being done. So his psychological need will be satisfied with that. Which of the following is not an assumption of Maslow theory? Out of these four, one is not an assumption. People behavior is not based on their needs. A, satisfaction is such needs influences their behavior. A satisfied need can no longer motivate a person. Only next higher level can motivate him. A person moves to the next higher level of hierarchy only when the lower need is satisfied. So it is option A, people's behavior is not based on their needs. Yes, it is based on their needs. Option A. Question number 6. It refers to all measures which are used to motivate people to improve performance. It refers to all measures which are used to motivate people to improve performance. More leadership, motivation, incentives, communication. Yes, these are the elements of elements that are required to improve performance. But the measure to the all measures, yes, that is option C. Incentives. Incentives refers to the all measures which will motivate people. Yes. Which of the following is not an example of financial incentive? It is not financial incentive. Prerequisite, job enrichment, profit sharing, co-partnership. In these four, which is not a financial incentive, this job enrichment is not financial incentive. It is job enrichment is that a social esteem need, yeah, a social or esteem need. Social need can also be a job enrichment where you are enriched, you are recognized, and you are appreciated for all those things. That kind, it is not a financial incentive. So it is option B. Job enrichment is not a financial. Rest all are financial. Prerequisite. I could have told that I need this much of salary. That is a prerequisite. Profit sharing is a financial incentive. Co-partnership is also a financial incentive. Which of the following is not an example for non-financial incentive? Non-financial incentive, it is not an example of non-financial incentive. Career advancement opportunity, yes, it is an example for non-financial incentive. Prerequisites, prerequisites is a financial incentive. Status is a non-financial is a non-financial incentive. Organizational climate is also non-financial incentive. So prerequisite is not an example for non-financial incentive. It is option B. On the occasion of Founders Day of the firm, Veena was facilitated with the certificate of best performer as a business development manager. Identify the type of incentive being described in the above lines. A. It is career advancement opportunities. B. Employee recognition program. C. Organizational climate. And D. Job security. Now, she is being awarded with the best performer. What kind of motivation is that? It is option B, employee recognition program, where she is being recognized and facilitated and certified as a best performer. Okay, next. Ishan works as an accounts officer in Fabrications Limited. He works as an accounts officer in Fabrications Limited. He also feels very proud of the fact that he is in charge of recreation committee in his office. So they have given some responsibility for him. Identify the type of incentive being offered to Ishan. What kind of incentive or motivation that is being given to him? A. Career advancement opportunities. B. Employee recognition program. Organizational climate or employee participation. What kind of motivation is that? I think it is option D, where option D, yeah, employee participation. They have made him to participate in something which motivates him to uh, perform better. So that is option D, that is employee participation. I think we are end of the session for now. Thank you for your attention. I will be meeting you in the next class. Thank you.